Big Ideas paper, you, again, speaking of big ideas, and I love when we talk about this because everybody on Twitter has a comment, but you stick to your $1 million Bitcoin forecast, despite what we saw, I think about a 65% drop in it last year. People are saying to me, really? Did she really stick to this? Why the confidence in that, despite everything?
Well, the confidence actually was strengthened last year. Now, last year was a terrible year for everything crypto. But if you think about what happened, it was the centralized, opaque players who went bankrupt: FTX, Celsius, 3 Hours Capital. And what did we see from Bitcoin? Bitcoin is completely decentralized and transparent. It started because of 0809, the lack of transparency in the traditional financial services ecosystem. And I remember when we did our research, and Art Laffer, I mentioned him the first time he was on your show. He took us through what Bitcoin meant to him, and it was, wow, Art. This is a rules-based monetary, it's a rules-based digital monetary system, and it's global, and there's no human intervention. It's very disciplined. It's mathematically metered to top out at 21 million units. Well, in the last year, the last 3 years, the responses to COVID, the fiscal and monetary responses that, in many countries are causing hyperinflation and, fiscal crises. We're seeing protests and riots all over the place. Well, where do these people go for an insurance policy against an implosion in their purchasing power and wealth? It is in something like Bitcoin. Bitcoin is an insurance policy, and it is an insurance policy for everyone against confiscation.
It's gotten a lot of attention, as many of your predictions do, that you guys are still looking for $1 million or more in Bitcoin value going out to 2030. As I said, this is a controversial take after the drubbing and then some that we have seen in Bitcoin. Walk me through it here. Like, how do we get from here to there?
Yes, and you can see the building blocks in Big Ideas 2023. But if you and the assumptions you'll see are very conservative. In fact, we've dialed them down from just take institutional managers looking at Bitcoin as a new asset class. And they are. We've seen Coinbase and BlackRock hook up recently. It's because institutional investors want access to this new asset class, which the returns of which, the correlation of the returns are low, which is exactly what they're looking for. Let me just step back and just say last year was a disaster for crypto generally. However, if you look at the Bitcoin blockchain, it did not skip a beat. No transaction was interrupted. It did what we thought it was going to do. And it is no surprise to us that Sam Bankman-Fried did not like Bitcoin. Why? It's completely decentralized and completely transparent. And he couldn't control it. His firm, FTX, was completely centralized and opaque. So we think that as investors reflect on what happened last year, the failures were those companies that were not decentralized, were not transparent. Bitcoin didn't skip a beat. And if you watch what's going on, especially in emerging markets, there's hyperinflation all over the world as their currencies have fallen apart, and as their fiscal and monetary responses to COVID are now proving, in some cases, to be disastrous. Those individuals, those populations, need a fallback, an insurance policy like Bitcoin, as do high net worth individuals who are worried that their wealth will be confiscated. Inflation is confiscation of wealth. But then there's outright confiscation. And I'm sure that there are individuals in the troubled spots of the world, the Russias, the controversies in China, who are looking for that fallback in case something really wrong happens to them in these countries, there are tycoons who understand what their risks are. So we believe that in insurance policies, that Bitcoin is probably the best insurance policy. Just keep that key in your head, and at some point you'll be able to cross a border and
leave a comment, leave a question, so that I know that you're loving it. Most importantly, subscribe to this channel.